Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anne of Rock and Roll Kids Fashion. Today I'll be sharing with you how to make a circular pleated skirt for kids as well as a cropped jacket. I'll be making use of Mikado and Spider. This is pure cotton and this is Mikado deep pink. So to my returning subscribers, I say thank you for keeping in touch, and to my new viewers, if you are just coming here for the first time, please do well to like, share and subscribe to my channel so that you get notified when I upload a new video. Without wasting much time, let's go into the tutorial. This is what we are making today, but first off, let's draft the pattern. So I already made a vertical and horizontal line to guide me. On the horizontal line, I'm marking the shoulder measurement. Then on the vertical line, I'm coming down the chest line. That's the chest line measurement, and then the full length of the jacket. On the chest line, I'm marking the shoulder measurement as well, and I'll join the 2 points, making a vertical line downwards. Then on the chest line, I'll draw it across horizontally to meet with the shoulder line. So at the bottom where I have the full length of the jacket, I'll just draw it across. That's the length of the jacket, and an extra 1 inch for the lining. So I'll be using the first line to cut the lining material so I can have 1 yard to turn inwards. When we get there, you understand. Now on the shoulder line, I'm just marking the neck width and the neck depth. So this is the back piece that we are cutting. I'm coming down by 1 inch for the neck depth. So I'll just join it to the neck width like I'm doing so. Next, on my shoulder line, I'll come down by 3/4 of an inch and join it to the neckline. So after creating my shoulder slope, I'll just place my tape rule from my shoulder line down to my chest line and mark the midpoint, going by 1/2 of an inch. And on the chest line, I'll be taking 1/4 of the chest circumference, then additional 1 inch for ease. The ease is not allowance, it's just for ease. So I'll be joining these 3 points together using my curved ruler. So I'm joining from the shoulder to the midpoint of the armhole and then to my chest line. So after joining, like I said, the chest line is your chest circumference divided by 4. That was the measurement I took there. And on the waist is, I'm taking the waist measurement divided by 4 plus additional 1 inch for that. So I'll just be joining the 2 points together. Now I marked up to the actual length of the jacket. I'll later extend it down to the allowance. So from the center back, I'll be taking the bust span of the jacket. So after marking the bust span, this bust span is like nipple to nipple. So your nipple to nipple measurement is what you'll be using here. So I'll be marking it from the chest line down to the waistline. And on the waistline, I'll be taking 1/2 of an inch on both sides. That is the extra 1 inch allowance I added to the waist measurement. So after taking the 1/2 inch on both sides, I'll be joining it to the chest line at the top. Now I'm just extending that line down to my extra 1 inch for allowance. So on the shoulder, I'll be marking the midpoint of the shoulder and I'll join it to the dart on the chest line. This will be the dart on the back piece, because the back piece I'll be using that for it. So I'll cut it open. I'm cutting it open. It is important to label your piece before you cut open. That will be my center back, and on this side will be my side back. Please do well to label before you cut your darts. Next, we'll be cutting the front pattern, and the front pattern is almost exactly the same as the back pattern. So on the shoulder line, I've already created my shoulder line, my chest line, and all of that. So I'm just taking the neck width and the neck depth. The neck width was the same as the back and the neck depth was 2.75. Now on the shoulder line, I'm coming down by 3/4 of an inch to create my shoulder slope. Now after creating my shoulder slope, I'll be joining the 2 points, my neck width and my neck depth, to create my neckline. So I later used my armhole curve because I needed it to give me that round neckline. So after creating my neckline, I'll be taking the midpoint of my armhole Now from my shoulder slope down to my chest line, I'll just mark the midpoint, which is almost the same thing I did with the back piece, and I went in this time around by 3/4 of an inch, unlike the 1/2 inch I took for the back piece, because it's the front armhole that I'm cutting here. On the chest line, I'm just taking the chest measurement, same as the back, and an extra 1 inch for ease. Note, not allowance, that's ease. On the waistline, sorry, I'm taking the waist measurement and adding extra 1 inch for the dart that I'll be taking. So I'll be joining the point from the bust line down to the waistline. The bust line, which is the same as the chest line. I was using chest line because it's for a child. There is no bust yet. So from the bust line, chest line, whatever, I'll extend it down to the waistline and extend the line down to the 1 inch allowance. If you forget to do that, you can do it later before you cut. Now on the armhole, I'm just marking, using the armhole curve to join the 3 points I made earlier. That is from the shoulder slope to the midpoint of the armhole, and then to your chest circumference measurement divided by 4. Your chest circumference divided by 4 is the measurement I took across the chest line. I would just want to clarify that, because some of you might be wondering that what is that measurement along. Is the chest circumference, your bust circumference divided by 4. Now from the center front, I'm taking the bust span, which we did with the back, the same thing. So the bust span is what I'm taking on the waistline and on the chest line, and I'll join the 2 points together and make a straight line. Then along the waist, I'll go in by 1/2 inch on both sides to create my dart. So here I'm just taking 1/2 inch on the right and 1/2 inch on the left, and using my ruler, I'll join it to the bust span on the chest line, so it will give us that narrow triangular shape. Like I said earlier, the waistline is your waist circumference divided by 4. That is the measurement you will take, and on the chest line is your chest circumference divided by 4. So after creating my dart, I'll go to my shoulder and take the midpoint of my shoulder width and join it downwards to my chest line. That is the dart line on my chest line. So join the center point of your shoulder down to the dart line on your chest line. Now this is where it gets interesting, because we are about to create our lapel. From the waistline, original waistline, not from the allowance, I'm going up by 1.5 inch. That will be my break point, but I'm not using button for this particular jacket. From that break point, I'll make a straight line up to my neck width. So I'll just make a straight line from the break point up to my neck width, and then I'll take half of my back neckline. Half of my back neckline, whatever measurement I get, it's usually 3 or 3.5. It depends on the neck width. It depends on your own measurement, your neck width measurement. So whatever measurement I get after taking half of my back neckline, that's your back piece unfold, I will extend that measurement on that new line that was created upward. I will extend it upward using my ruler. Now you cannot see me with measuring tape because I'm using my ruler to take my measurements. Next, from that extension, I'll come down by 1/2 inch and connect it to my neck width line. I'll connect it downwards to my neck width. It makes the initial line invalid. I will just scribble that off, and the new created line will be what I'll be working with. Next, I'll slant my ruler upward. My ruler was not properly slanted here, but I later corrected it. You will see it as the video goes. I slanted my ruler upward and took that same measurement. Then I'll come down to my neck depth and take the same measurement and join the 2 points together. So I'll join the point from the top of the lapel to my neck depth, and I'll use my curve ruler to finish up the lapel, thereby giving us that curved, you know, when the collar, when you wear a jacket, the curved collar. This is what I'm trying to create here using my curved ruler. So I'll just smoothen out the sharp edge. If you see any sharpness there, just smoothing it out because it's supposed to be a smooth curve. So after all of this, I'll just extend my dart line down to the allowance so that when I'm cutting my pattern, it's easier for me to cut out my dart. Now I'll just go ahead and cut out my front piece. So after cutting, I'll just go ahead and label my center front and my side front. This is important so you don't get confused. So I've cut out the main fabric. I cut the side front 2 pieces, then I cut the center front 4 pieces because I'll be using 2 for the collar on the lining, because what I do on the main fabric is what I'll be doing on the lining. Next, this is the side back. I cut 2 pieces and the center back was 1 pieces. So I'll be using this spider cutting to cut on the lining, but before I cut on the lining, I'll cut out this allowance from the pattern before I use it to cut on the lining for turning. So I marked the wrong side of the fabric because it's almost looking alike. I use my chalk. This chalk, when you iron it, it disappears, so I use it to mark the wrong side of the fabric on all the pieces so that I don't get them mixed up when sewing. Now I'll just be joining the sides together. So this is my side back. The right side will be facing the right side of the center back, and I'll join it from the shoulder down to the waist. I'll do the same on the other part. I'll take the other side of the back piece, that is the other side, and join it from the shoulder down to the waist as well. And for the front, I'll take the center front and the side front where the collar is and join it. The shoulder from the center front is not full, so I'll join it with the shoulder from the side front. And here I've joined them and ironed the seam open. I ironed the seam open so that we can have a clean finish on the outside. So after joining all the sides together, next we'll be taking the front piece, that is one side of the front and the other side, then we'll be putting the collar together and stitch. After stitching, make sure to iron open the seam. Next, we'll sew the shoulder from one shoulder to the other end. Note the collar will be attached to the back neck. So here I've sewn from one shoulder to the other end. I joined the collar together, then made the stitch from one shoulder to the other end. Next, I'll be sewing the side using 1/2 inch allowance that I left when I was cutting the fabric. So I'm not sewing it this way. I'll turn it inside out and sew it. Here I've sewn it and I've ironed the seam open. So everything I did on this main fabric, I did the same thing on the lining. The lining is exactly like this. This is the lining, and I've ironed the seam open as well. So what the next thing I'll be doing is to insert the lining into the main fabric, right side facing right side. The right side of the main fabric will be facing the right side of the lining. So I'll just open the jacket and turn the right side facing up, then the right side of the lining will face down. So the first thing I'll be sewing is the bottom. I'll just match the seam together so that everything can align. I'll make sure that all the seam are matching together because they are equal allowances. The allowance I took from the lining is the same allowance I took on the main fabric. So here I'm just pinning the seams together so that they don't move. And after pinning, I'll make a straight stitch across the length of the jacket. So I'll be sewing the bottom first so that I can use that 1 inch allowance I added to the full length of the jacket to turn the lining. That was the essence of that 1 inch allowance. So I'll just sew a straight stitch across the bottom. Here I've sewn the straight stitch. Now the lining is shorter than the main jacket. I will now pull up the lining by 1/2 inch, and the break point will have to meet each other. So I'm just aligning the break point to meet each other. So I pulled up the lining by 1/2 inch, and I'll pin round from the bottom round to the other end of the jacket. Pin it, and when you get to the collar, make sure that the joining of the collar aligns with the joining of, that is, the joining of the collar on the main fabric aligns with the joining of the collar on the lining. So I'll sew it all round and notch it because it's a curve. So you notch it so that when you iron it, it comes out looking clean. So I just turned it out, and I'll give it a good press because it's necessary to always iron as you go. It makes your work neater. Here I've ironed the jacket, and this is how it's looking. Very, very neat. On the inside, it's all, the stitches are all covered. This is the lapel. So from the break point, I'm just turning the collar out. I intentionally did not add any button to this because it's more like an open jacket, cropped jacket anyway. So next will be sewing the sleeve on. I have a video tutorial on how to draft your basic sleeve, so you can refer to that. I've cut my sleeve, and the lining is 1 inch shorter than the main fabric. So the first thing I'll be doing, I'll pull down the lining and sew a straight stitch at the wrist, the wrist. So after sewing the straight stitch, I'll fold the sleeve like so, like I'm doing, and I'll sew down from the lining downwards and from the main fabric downwards. After sewing, I'll just turn them outwards and iron flat. Ironing your clothes while sewing is really important. I'm re-emphasizing again. So to attach this sleeve, I'll be attaching the main fabric first. I'm not attaching both the main fabric and the lining. I'll attach the main fabric first, and here I've sewn the main fabric, but the lining is not sewn yet. So from one end of the sleeve, I'll put my hand through from this other side and use it to sew the lining. It can actually get tricky when you are doing this, so be careful that when you are matching your seam together, that is the seam on the underarm, you are matching it to the seam on the other underarm of the sleeve. Make sure that it does not get twisted, because when it's twisted, when you're done sewing, you won't be able to pass your hand through the sleeve. So be careful when you are pinning down the lining. Also, get the midpoint of your cap sleeve, that is your sleeve, you notch it and you align it to your shoulder seam so that when you sew it, everything matches right. I'm done sewing it round, and for the other part, I'll just open up 1 inch on the lining and use it to sew the other one around. So this is the finished look of the jacket and the end of this tutorial video. I'll be dropping a part 2 of this tutorial video, which is the making of the box pleated skirt. If you stayed till this time, please do well to like, share and subscribe to this channel so you get notified when I upload a new video. Thank you for watching. Bye.